to know that there is a way. There is a way that God has a biblical health plan for man prior to all of this medication. Now, I know that in this time that we are in a place where we have more preservatives, we have more toxins, we have things in our bodies, and it causes the onset of these things. But there is a way out. We need to stop to invest in ourselves and make our lives simple. And what I mean by that, when we go all the way back and simplify our lives, get out of all the things that we don't need, we can go to Genesis 1:29 and get plain. That is the biblical health plan for man. Genesis 1:29 that tells us that God has given us every seed-bearing plant. He's given us every green leaf plant. He's given us every fruit that we will ever need. And the word says in the end of that scripture says, and this you will take for meat.
A lot of people don't think about it like that. So I want to take a step back because, you know, sometimes people will say, well, she's just talking. She don't really know. She don't know what I'm going through. I want you to tell them your story.
Well, I'm sitting here today disease free, and I'm sitting here today as one of those who used to be in the generational curse of type 2 diabetes and also just full-blown diabetes. In 2012, my life changed. In 2012, I personally had a stroke. In 2012, I had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes from 2010. And in 2010, at that time, I must have weighed about 220 pounds. I also suffered with hypertension. During that time, my eldest sister was also a victim of type 2 diabetes and heart problems and all of these areas. But however, when I had a stroke, it was when the time that I had to stop and to really face what I was doing with this temple. And God had to really let me know that my body is the temple of God. And so whatever I do with it is going to be a representation of him. So he gave me the kingdom prescription, these 5 lifestyle changes. But prior to that, I want you to hear, I lost my father, my oldest sister, my oldest brother, 2 aunts, and my son, who was 38 years old. Wow. Not only from just type 2 diabetes, but diabetes is such a silent killer that there's other complications, which it affects your type 2 diabetes affects every muscle and organ in your body, because when the sugar gets into your blood, it goes everywhere. And so unless it is cleansed out and reversed, you will then become a statistic. But I'm here to tell you today that that does not have to happen. I am now free of it. The kingdom prescription will help bring you from that, will teach you from the beginning the basis of the word. And all of us know that when we get our instructions now, we first seek Matthew 6:33 that tells us that's our first stop. The word says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added. So what is his righteousness then, Princess? It is his way of doing things. So when you do that, add the part that is our responsibility. That's taking care of our temple. That's hydrating it, oxygenating it, moving it, and giving it the best that we have. When we do that, and we can do it in small steps because we know that we have been a long time acclimated to the old Southern cuisine styles or the Western diets that has caused nothing but almost slow death. And it has caused a real high onset of type 2 diabetes. It has caused high blood pressure, and it has caused, in a lot of cases, heart problems and acute renal failure.
Now, I want to bring out this point. You kind of touched on it, but I want to make sure that people understand. You may say out there, well, why should I care? I don't have type 2 diabetes. But if it's in your family history, there is a slight possibility. I'm not trying to speak anything on you, but there is a slight possibility that if you don't change your lifestyle, that you may have that issue as well. And not only that, when diabetes come, what does diabetes bring with it? If it's kept out of whack.
diabetes brings a host of its accompaniments. And the very first one that diabetes is going to bring is insulin resistance. It's going to cause you to have high blood pressure. It's going to have you to have erratic blood sugars. It's going to cause you to have a weakening of every muscle in your body, heart problems. It's going to cause you to have kidney problems. It's going to bring all of these things with it. And the question that you just mentioned about if you don't have type 2 diabetes now, but if it is in your family and you're saying, you're thinking that I'm fine now, I want to encourage you to every time you go to the doctor, at least for a year or two, to ask your doctor, request it of your doctor, to have your A1C tested, because if not, for you to be tested for type 2 diabetes, you will not know. And I need to say this. Type 2 diabetes can be asymptomatic, means that you don't even know you have it until you go and ask. Mm-hmm. Okay? Maybe you have gone to the doctors and you're not showing anything that's going on with your blood sugars, but you need to let your physician know, because your physician will not know unless you say it, that I have type 2 diabetes in my family. I have people that's on dialysis. You need to ask the question, am I at danger? Mm-hmm. And so normally when you ask that question, they will then test you to make sure and keep a watch over you.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell people about your qualifications, because I don't want them to think, oh, well, she may be a medical doctor. She may not be a medical doctor. Tell them, because you're highly qualified to speak on this subject. Mm-hmm. Tell them about your qualifications.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that I am a biblical health professor. I am one of the only African American women under the American Baptist Association that has attained this degree. I'm also a certified medical assistant. I'm also an LVN. I've also worked in hematology for about 17 years. And I've done nursing now, I guess, a total of 28 years. Mm-hmm. And I've watched this process. Mm-hmm. And so with my own family and with my personal involvement, that is what has made me be so passionate about to reach out to help other people. Because just because you don't have type 2 diabetes right now, or you are not obese right now and you're not sick right now, it does not mean that the DNA is not resting in your body.
Now, what are some triggers that can trigger? What are some symptoms? I don't want to say symptoms. I guess things that can trigger type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, some of the symptoms is good. That question right there, mm-hmm. because a person that has an onset of type 2 diabetes this is just a big red flag. If you're always hungry, okay, and especially if you're eating a lot of sugar and starches, mm-hmm. and you're hungry every hour or two. It just seems like you're just hungry. You're thirsty. Mm-hmm. You're urinating a lot. Mm-hmm. You're getting up at night urinating. You're not sleeping 6 or 7 hours. You're getting up 2 and 3 times a night. That's a big trigger, because that means that your sugar is spilling over and your kidneys are trying to eliminate it. Mm-hmm. Okay. You can. I say that you're thirsty often. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're thirsty often, and another trigger is that you find out that you're just losing weight and you weren't trying, but you started losing weight. Also, the other ones are just those episodes of going through being hypoglycemic, means that you have sugar drops, that you feel tired, you're shaky, you're sweating, you have a headache, you go through those are the times that when you're really at a point where you really need to go see a physician. And sometimes, and I'm saying this one plainly, because what we're noticing is that our youth are blowing out first. Those teenagers that's between the ages of, I don't want to just put them in a box, but at least 15 to 19 years old, mm-hmm. are going through these changes and are not literally talking to their parents about it, but going to bed, having night sweats, having all these things are going on. And then the next thing we know, that they wind up in the hospital and they have to be dialyzed because their kidneys have blown.
Well, let me also bring it home to parents. There was a little boy that we stayed in an apartment complex. Little boy used to come over, bug me all the time about my son coming outside. Little boy used to get on my nerves. He would even question, well, why he ain't at home? Why you at home? Little boy, if you don't get away from my door. So one day, they went off to middle school, and we moved. And so I was asking my son, I said, have you seen Brandon recently? And he said, no. He said, I'm going to ask the kids at school, because he had moved away, but he came back, and I hadn't seen him. And so he asked the kids at school, and they said he passed away over the summer. The boy had diabetes, and his parents did not know it. Passed away in his sleep. So it's very important that if you have a history of diabetes, that you're also getting your children tested.
Yes.
Because you don't want, a situation like that to happen to your child, and you have no idea, that you could have done something to prevent it or to help him or her. So I just want to thank you for being a part of the show today. We're at the end. In fact, we're over. This has been an awesome show. Guys, I want you to stay tuned next Monday morning. We're going to be talking about eliminating high blood pressure. Thank you for being a part of the Color Outside the Box podcast. Tell people how to reach you if they wanted to talk with you further about issues that they may be having in their body.
Well, you can reach me at any time at 251-605-6464. That is my personal line. And of course, if you can also reach me on Facebook at Dr. Ruby McMillian. Just go on and like our page and share our page. If you have questions that you would like to have answered, please feel free to email me at thecommontouch@gmail.com. That's TheCommonTouch@gmail.com. And I will make sure that I return those questions for you.
And you can also learn more about her at thekingdomprescription.com. It's www.kingdomprescription.com. Thank you again for being our guest today. In fact, for the whole month, we're going to have a really good time. I can just imagine. I want you guys to tune in next week to the Color Outside the Box podcast. We're going to be talking about eliminating high blood pressure. Again, this has been your hostess, Princess Miller, in the Color Outside the Box podcast. Like us, share it, tell others about the podcast, and have an awesome day.
Color Outside the Box is a podcast series that focuses on creating a better you. Whether it's advice about family, relationships, raising children in this technological world, marriage, or careers, we seek to find the answers to help you live your best life. So start your Monday morning off right with me, your hostess with the mostest, Princess Miller, on Color Outside the Box right here on iTunes and everywhere podcasts can be heard.